Okay, I'm here at NASA Ames with John Cumbers. He's a PhD student at Brown University, and he's working here at NASA Ames on synthetic biology. Welcome to Parabolic Arc.
Thanks, Doug.
And if you could explain a little bit to my viewers what synthetic biology is.
Sure. Synthetic biology is a field that's about 10 years old. It's come out of genetic engineering, biological engineering, a new group of people who are trying to look at life as a series of parts, a series of genetic elements that you can describe, characterize, and then use reliably in genetic circuits to make designed, designed engineered systems.
Okay, and what sort of designed engineered systems would you have, and how would that apply to space exploration?
So I think synthetic biology comes into space exploration because of the mass problem. The mass problem that it costs tens of thousands of dollars just to get anything off or just to get a kilogram off the Earth into low Earth orbit. So if you're thinking about long-term habitation of the Moon or Mars, either for scientific purposes or for human settlement, then you really need to think about taking biology with you. You need to think about taking a single cell, and inside that single cell it has the ability to replicate and produce two cells from one cell. And the second cell, if it can come from resources that you find in situ, instead of resources that you've taken, then you can start to build up an ecosystem. You can start to build up manufactured things from the resources that you find, and you have overcome the mass problem. You haven't had to take it with you.
So what types of things do you envision being produced that way?
So anything that you can see here on the Earth, wood, which is made from lignin, other hard substances like shell or enamel, building materials, anything that we can see that biology makes here, we can think about making it from in situ resources on the Moon or Mars.
And how far along is this work?
At the moment, synthetic biology is really just beginning. You can see published in Science and Nature simple logic circuits that show that we can have some sort of control over biological systems. So oscillators or switches or counters, they're all based primarily on single-celled organisms like bacteria, and that's where the field is at the moment. But it's showing proof of principle that we can design non-trivial biologically engineered systems. If you combine that with the falling cost of DNA synthesis, and I think we've got a very exciting time ahead of us over the next 10 years, and we're going to see increasing complexity of the systems that we can design.
And take us through that, say, in the next 10 years. What sort of systems do you envision designing, and how do you think they'll be applied to future space missions?
I think over the next 10 years we're going to see a move from single-celled programmed systems to multi-celled programmed systems. I think we're going to see a lot more programmed pattern formation, understanding of morphological patterns in biology, and the engineering of morphological patterns. For example, the way that a biomaterial might be produced where a series of cells spread out on a layer in a coordinated fashion and produce a particular substance like lignin to form a surface. Something along those lines. And I think that's directly applicable to materials in space, because if you can have a materials manufacturing plant that can be producing a material that you didn't have to take with you, then that's a critical technology for space.
Well, what sorts of materials would this be? Habitat, walls and bulkheads? Would it be, what sort of things are you looking at?
So I think that you could start with some sort of tile that's cold resistant, radiation resistant. So maybe that's made of a strong biomaterial that we can find here on Earth, like a shell or wood, some sort of structure that's rigid enough to be used as a floor or a wall, and radiation resistant.
Yeah, it's a key area for preserving human life is making sure you don't get cooked by the radiation. How much better would these systems be as opposed to the things we're looking at today?
The answer is I don't know. Certainly, we're pretty good at making radiation-resistant shields, but at the moment we make them out of physical materials like lead. If we start making them out of biological materials, then they're not going to be as strong as the physical materials, but the biological materials are going to have greater advantages. Mainly that we can produce them there much easier than we could produce lead on Mars, for example. So the answer is I don't know, but I think it's an interesting area to go into.
Okay. What sort of infrastructure do you need in space to be able to do this? How human intensive is it, and equipment intensive to do this kind of work?
So I think for biomaterials, we'd want to have a prototype plant here on Earth demonstrating what we can produce in space. And as we're not yet there, you asked me to look 10 years out, so I don't know what that infrastructure would look like. But if we think about consumables, which are things we know that humanity will need in space, oxygen, food, fuel, if we think about things like that, we know that we can produce them in a bioreactor here on Earth. So in those terms, I don't think it's a great leap to then be using a bioreactor on the Moon or Mars.
And you recently had a synthetic biology workshop at the end of October here at NASA Ames. Can you describe what you guys discussed there, and who was there, and what the outcome of that was?
Sure. We got a grant from the National Academy's Keck Futures Initiative, which is a funding body that tries to think about the future and think differently about what the future might look like. So that was held here at NASA Ames, and we invited 100 people to that workshop. Half of them were people who were doing things for NASA in space, thinking about how current technology could be used in space, and half of them were synthetic biologists who were trying to think of space applications that synthetic biology could be applied to. So we had a great meeting over the Halloween weekend in October, and the title of the workshop was "What are the applications of synthetic biology to NASA's mission?" So it was a very successful workshop. The keynote speaker on Saturday night was Craig Venter, and that video is going to be up on our website in about a week or so you'll be able to link to that. And the outcome is going to be a workshop report released next year, and also about 6 papers in the International Journal of Astrobiology will be coming out, which details the ideas that people came up with at that workshop.
What do you think the key things that came out of that, or anything that particularly surprised you?
No big surprises. I think I've been thinking about this problem for a long time. So for me, it was a lot of very good ideas, and we have one paper that's coming out on biosensors, one paper on synthetic biology and human health, one paper on synthetic biology for food production, one paper on biomaterials. So all of the things that you might expect synthetic biology to do, people are now looking at it in terms of space applications.
Can you get in a little bit into the synthetic biology and human health area? How would that help human health, and how would you use it that way?
We had 5 different working groups at the meeting. I wasn't part of that working group, so, and I haven't seen some of the results. It's also not particularly my area. If you wanted me to guess at what synthetic biology might do for human health, I think it might. It is being used for stem cell therapy, to reprogram stem cells that would then go back into the body and perform a particular function. And there are people actively working on this, such as Ron Weiss at MIT. But I don't know any more details than that.
But generally, so can you reprogram the human body to be more adapted for space? Is that the goal of that?
So this was one of Craig Venter's suggestions during his talk, and it's, I think, it's way out there in terms of what we can do and necessarily what we'd want to do. We have enough trouble controlling a single cell bacterium, so to try and reprogram your body, I think at the moment is the way off, and I'm happy sticking with bacteria for now.
Okay. You recently set up a synthetic biology laboratory here, and can you tell us a little bit about that and what the hirings have been and how large it is, things like that?
Sure. So it's a nice lab over in building 239 here at NASA Ames. At the moment we're just finishing kitting the lab out, and we've put a notice for hiring fellows into Science magazine a couple of weeks ago. The deadline for applications is January the 20th next year, and we're looking to fill that with people who want to change the world, people who want to come to NASA, think outside the box, come up with solid ideas of how synthetic biology could be applied to NASA's mission, and really demonstrate proof of principle in the innovation lab, which was what we're calling it, that there are real applications of synthetic biology to NASA. So we're just sort of bootstrapping our way along, but we really hope that this is going to be a cornerstone of NASA Ames and life science at NASA Ames in the future.
And how does that complement the other life science things that are going on here?
It complements them very well. You have people doing closed loop life support, you have people doing bone morphology and radiation experiments, people doing astrobiology. We have people in each of the existing areas of life science at NASA involved with this synthetic biology initiative. So it's designed to grow life sciences as a whole and really put Ames on the map again in the life sciences.
Okay, anything else you wanted to add about this subject?
No, I think it's a very exciting topic. People can go to our website, syntheticbiology.arc.nasa.gov, and you can link to that. And there's a mailing list, so if people want to sign up and hear about news and activities and the research that we're doing, then please do.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.